Good evening, and welcome to It's a Different World with Creatives on Campus, where we explore all things creatives, community, and campus culture. I am your host, Brittany T, and I'm working a little backwards tonight because typically by now I've already started sharing this on my personal page and resharing on our Creatives on Campus page. And so I'm going to pop in right now to do that just so we can get some people on. If you are coming in, good evening. Good evening. I hope you're safe. At least where I am, it is pouring like crazy. And so wherever you are, I hope you are safe. Feel free if you are popping in to like and share our broadcasts. Specifically, if you know a college student, if you know a creative, and even if you're just a parent, a community member, an administrator, it really anyone, I believe, can benefit from the just conversations that go forth in this particular segment, especially parents, especially people who know students who are going through the college process, or just like I said, our creatives. Feel free to go ahead and share out. And I'm just about done. So thank y'all for bearing with me. I'm glad it's Friday. I don't know how y'all week has been, but I'm glad it's Friday. I'm gonna just say that. All right. I'm still getting shared out. Again, I apologize. This is stuff I usually do before I even come on, but I do want to take this moment to just let you know that we have a really special conversation tonight that's going to happen with someone who I just love, appreciate, and um, am connected to in a way that I won't tell you the story yet because I want definitely her to be a part of that conversation. Um, but it's going to be good. So be sure, again, as you're coming in, to like, to share, and to just engage us. I do want to share as well a couple announcements. And again, I'm still trying to get to my stream. All right. I want to share a few announcements regarding creatives on campus, which is number one, we have a new creative on campus. We have a new team member that has joined the Creatives on Campus collective that I am super excited about. I did not tell her that I was giving her a shout out tonight, but I am. And so I want to shout out Miss Shanila Johnson from Rutgers University, who is actually serving tonight as our technical assistant backstage on our stream. Shanila is one of my favorite people. You've probably seen me post about her. You've probably heard me talk about her. She is, in my opinion, brilliant. And that's no pressure because I know sometimes when you start getting people amped up, it feels like pressure, but it's no pressure. It just is who she is. Creatively, she's brilliant. Educationally, she is insightful and thoughtful and forward thinking and invested in her community and invested in wanting to be a part of the change in her community. And that excites me. So I'm so excited to just welcome Shanila on campus. She's not gonna, pop in and say anything because I'm sure she's not interested in all of that. But I do want to just real quick put her up because it gives me an opportunity to tell you more about Creatives on Campus and our core model, which is what we use to identify partners. And so within the core model, the R, and I know I just straight jumped over C and O, but the R represents our room makers. And so what a room maker is a creative maker whose design contributes to the launch process of a new idea, project, or brand series. And so Shanila tonight, her expertise, her willingness to just jump in and learn a new, something creatively that she hasn't ever done before, is really helping to serve to make this a great conversation, something that takes the stress off of me and lets me just be free and present and here for the conversation itself. And so I want to just shout her out. I'm here to shout her out. And she said, "Hey y'all." So she's not only backstage, but she's also engaging and commenting with us. So I love that. So yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. We're showing love. We're showing, true to Happily Better After in our programs. We're honoring those who help to make what we do a success. And so I'm gonna stop running my mouth, because what we are here for tonight is our special guest, who, again, I absolutely am just so excited to have on tonight. And so I'm going to go ahead without further ado, ask Shania to go ahead and bring her in, bring our guest right on in. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
No. I can. Okay, good.
There might be some type of delay happening.
Is there? Okay. I don't want to take my headset off.
Maybe not.
I'm in the city.
Maybe not. You can hear me right now talking?
I can, yeah.
Okay. We're good.
Cool. Well, I mean, I just wouldn't be a good guest if I did not shout out Shania Johnson, honey. That was some real wonderful up talk. Okay, so
let's shout her out.
The golf claps, snaps, all of that. You get it all. I love to hear about people that are innovating their everyday, because that's what we need. We need innovators, and please don't get it twisted. We need innovators in our community. We need them. So absolutely. I love that. I really do. I think it's awesome. And Brittany, you know me so well. You knew I was gonna be like that.
Look, I'm so excited you are here. It's just giving me some nostalgic Baltimore vibes, Columbia vibes.
Right.
And girl, I miss you.
I know. Me too. I'm so excited to just be in the presence of all of this creative greatness.
Yes, you look very cute, by the way.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, girl. You know that makes me so happy. You do too. I really love this blouse situation. I was like, that is not jean. That is a blouse. I'm sorry.
It's a whole dress, actually, girl. And it has pockets. So that's the thing.
I got to see the whole thing later on. But you know, I appreciate all of that, which is great. And thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Of course. And so I honestly, when I was thinking tonight about okay, this is Candice. There's so many wonderful things that we could potentially talk about and connect on. But I think it's worth just mentioning and sharing, how we connected through higher education, because this platform essentially is really centered around, the college creative. And so, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that in terms of how we connected, how we met, and just, I think it's just an interesting journey that this relationship has been on.
For sure. No, I think it is too. The great thing that I really love about you is that you know me pre-marriage, during marriage, after marriage, into singlehood again, into divorce in the city. And I think that that's so wonderful about our friendship, because I feel like we have both got to see each other evolve and grow. And it's so funny. I hate to be so corny, but I literally feel like I saw you just grow up right before my eyes.
You really did, though. And that's
really
the thing.
Did.
You
I
really
really
did.
did.
I
So,
was a hot mess when you met me, girl.
but you know what? I love that about you. And I feel like that's what I love about us. I think we recognize that in each other, and that was great. I knew when I saw you and I saw your clothes, I was like, we gonna be friends. We have to be.
That
That
is
great
so
shoes,
funny.
y'all. And I will look at her shoes every day.
Girl, I feel like that is such a blur of, like sometimes life just is moving and you're like, oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
That's kind of how sometimes when I think about that particular part of my life, like that's kind of where I'm like at with it.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I mean, again, we connected through a work experience as colleagues, and really, like you said, we kind of developed our own friendship outside of just that. But specific to the industry, just kind of going straight into that conversation, like
Definitely.
what did you really value, as someone who's been on the administration side and one who's also been in, the seat of the student? What did you value about just what you were able to do on a daily basis for students and for um, for the industry, the higher ed industry?
Yeah. So I definitely value impacting students' lives, right? I
Mhm.
thought that was something that was really special to me because you would have some students where you would just be like, gosh, this person is kind of a pain. But then you would have others that came from single parent, single family households, that had never gone to school before, never thought they would ever have access to college,
Mm,
didn't have the support system. So literally in that role, um, I realized just how important I was to someone's life. It's crazy because like a month ago, one of the students that graduated, that was one of my students that I had in admissions, reached out to me and said, do you remember me? And I mean, this was like, I don't know, 10, no, at least 7 years ago, you
mm,
know? And that's the thing. I don't care whether you're in for profit, nonprofit, if you're at some big research institution, if you're at a learning management company,
mm,
you are impacting students' lives. And that experience is something that they will always remember, whether it
mm,
was good or bad. But if it was
yeah.
good, it literally changes people's lives,
Mm,
and
it's true.
that's amazing.
Absolutely. It makes me to think of, that, like you said, whether it's good or bad, you're impacting their lives. But if it's great, they're going to remember that. And when I first started in higher ed, I was working for HBCU, and maybe I shouldn't have said that. I was working for HBCU, and I love us,
Right.
I love us. But in this particular setting, there were some challenges that really, really frustrated me, and frustrated the students. I could tell frustrated the students from the administration standpoint. And it really just, to your point, like made me feel like, do y'all not understand? Like we are like influencing and impacting and creating like an imprint in the lives of these students. And y'all are in here just like turned up and not focused. And I had so many students in that first year tell me like, you are like the best financial aid person we've ever had. You like, you know what I mean? Like, and I was just like, I'm just doing my job, but maybe speak to that. Like what maybe for even not even just where we work together, but just in your
Yeah.
experiences, what you know, what have you seen and can speak to in terms of like the impact of not caring, the impact of people who are just
Oof.
existing and kind of even moving through people through the process that they know ain't gonna do well or move
Yeah.
people.
Yes. The big black box of higher education where students start and never finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really kind of is like a mega church, right? Like
Mm,
the people that love it and come every week and sit in the
wow.
same section and get to know their neighbors and have the same parking spot and all of that good stuff, right? As long as everything is routine, it's
Mm,
perfect and it's wonderful, right? But
wow.
then you have the processes at mega churches that completely break down. Your spouse dies and you reach out to them for support and it takes 3 weeks for somebody to get back to you, right?
Mm,
The same thing and the same type of concept like we should be kind of having towards higher education, because what happens is people slip through the cracks, right?
mm,
And for me, I have like a different experience because I've never worked for HBCU. I've
mm,
worked for profits
mm,
and learning management
mm,
companies that were a
mm,
third party managing major brands, some of the top tier brands in the country. I used to enroll for a top tier institution on the West Coast.
mm,
And that was very big in scandal recently with all the celebrities and stuff. That was one of the institutions. And
wow.
when I tell you that, number one, the things that we hear about at HBCUs, guess what? They go on everywhere.
Mm,
They go on at these big football schools. They
wow.
go on at Ivy League institutions. They
Mm,
go on everywhere. We just don't hear about it unless there's a reason for us to, you
mm,
know? And particularly, the thing that really was really amazing to me is representing this brand that offered a really, really expensive EDD program was sold completely over the phone. And
mm,
there's something that if you are not in tune to your job and if you don't care about your job, then you're just treating people like like stock options or something, and
mm,
that's the thing that it is disconcerting, right? That happens in education, especially in that weird learning management for profit sector, right?
mm,
Because in higher ed, we have these roles that are made to handle the masses, right? And you have a number, you have a quota, and they're not supposed to be talked about as sales roles, but that's what they are. And some
mm,
people don't think about their job as really working in higher education. They think about it as a sales job, and that's
mm.
the disconnect.
Wow. I think you said that perfectly. It is so true. And it's, you know, thank you for saying that, it isn't just HBCUs, right? Because I know we get a bad rap, but
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, I think whether for profit, nonprofit, no matter what institution I've worked for, there's been these challenges. There's been challenges, we'll just say, and that's everywhere. So, but I love the analogy of the megachurch and getting lost.
yeah, yeah. I think it's sad, but that was just kind of like the best analogy that I could give, right?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, for sure.
So I, wow. So I want to jump into a question. And again, as a part of this platform, really making a concerted effort to engage our students, our ambassadors, and our team of creatives on campus. And so we received some questions tonight from one of our students, and I want to just highlight a few of them. The first one she mentioned, girl, it is thundering and lightning here. Like,
Oh, is that what
Jesus.
that was? Oh my gosh.
You can hear it? Okay.
Yeah, I
All right.
can.
I was just like, okay. Um, so one of the questions that she posed was, at what age did you notice that you were an innovator? So this is kind of like transition into, the creative part of the work that we're doing. As a part of your bio, you mentioned, the innovative, poetic, and creative things that you do that honestly I didn't even know about you. So that's really exciting.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
so yeah, like at what age did you identify with being a creative or being innovative or just knowing there was something distinguishing about yourself in that way?
Um, well, for me, I have always been different. I've always been different. I've always been a different thinker, a different learner, seeing things from different points of views. And I have always thought things out differently. Um, and I've always been bossy. Like, I'm the oldest girl in my family, so it's a little bit of that
Don't
too.
worry, I'm the youngest and I am
Right.
too.
And it was just so funny, because I remember when you told me you were the youngest, I couldn't believe that because I did think you were kind of bossy. I thought you were the oldest, which is so funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, uh, I think that for me, I grew up with a learning disability and I'm
Mm,
38. So there was a time in education where people didn't know always how to identify these things, especially in girls, right?
mm,
And I would have to find different ways to learn. I would have to
mm,
find different ways to learn how to read, to get
mm,
better at reading, to comprehend things like word problems. I would have to really learn differently. I would have to pick things apart and put them back
mm,
together again. And it's it's not easy learning that way because I'm a tactile learner and I learn by doing, by, like, what's the guy, John Dewey. He's like the philosopher, the learn by doing guy, but that's always been me.
mm,
And it's kind of painful because it takes longer, right? And you see everybody else, it's firing on all cylinders and it's clicking, and
mm,
it always took me longer. But once I got it, I was able to make it mine and then iterate on it, and then I would excel, right? And it took me a long time to kind of figure that out about myself. And I've always tried to have, like, when I was a kid, I'm not even gonna lie, this is kind of embarrassing. I think you already know this about me. I loved infomercials, and like my
mm.
dream used to be to have an infomercial product, you
Oh,
know? Yeah,
okay.
love them.
Did
Like,
not know that.
yeah. I love infomercials. Like, I used to watch them,
Hmm.
like I watched ShamWow so many times just because, like, I love the energy of that infomercial. And so I used to try to come up with products to, like, sell in an infomercial setting. And like the one that I actually really wanted to make were these like mean greeting cards called Harm Mark.
Hard mark.
Harm, like
Harm.
HARM, Harm Mark.
Okay. Okay.
I know that's terrible. I know it's not Christian. It's not nice. No, but I thought it would have made a lot of money in Spencer's. That was my idea.
Okay. Okay. I see where that's
Yeah.
going. Okay.
Yeah. So I've always been kind of innovative, in just thinking about ways to entertain people, to heal people, to make people brighter, feel better, happier, like whatever.
Mm,
I've even tried a little
mm.
bit of stand up. Like, it's ridiculous.
I was about to say, and I was about to say, I can attest to that. I can attest to that. I, in that particular work climate, where we connected, I I wasn't close with many people. Like I kind of bounced around a little bit, but overall, um, it was really you. I think predominantly that I would like go to lunch with and
Yeah.
hang out with to any extent outside of work and like
Yeah.
I know that it was that like just you are hilarious, number one.
Thank you so much.
And like not even trying to be. Sometimes I'm like, but yeah, like just that, definitely that creative fun, where, you know, freedom to be yourself and to be vulnerable, and those, like you said, like that healing, just wanting to be that and offer that to people. So I appreciate you for that, because, you know,
Oh, thank you.
when I was, when I was living in Baltimore, it was Baltimore, honestly, was my first, it wasn't my first, but it was like a new level of freedom creatively, and where I lived, and kind of like just that whole scene for me. It was
It was
different.
a vibe. It was. It
It,
was
it
a vibe.
was.
I
It
remember where
was.
you
I
lived,
want
and
it back.
actually, yeah, it's it's funny. Like I've seen people from your party like years later, and I'm like, oh hey,
Oh.
what's up? You know, like yeah, it was a vibe. It was a vibe, and like I feel like it's so funny you say that because that's the part of Baltimore that people like don't get to see. It
Mm,
actually is such a fun, cool, and it really is a charming city, but you have to be
mm.
tuned into like your tribe and like where your people are and like
Yeah,
get into what you're into. Yeah, for sure.
for sure. I feel like Baltimore. I was completely taken aback in terms of the experience that I had living there, and just like I said, just what it opened up for me creatively. And I'm sometimes like, I want to go back, but it's okay.
Like, come on.
So tell us. So we moved from, education. You've been in sales, tech industry now. Like, how do you get from education to now being a founder? Like, and tell us about your business and what you're up
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. So it's really like such a crazy story. So for me, I am a very non-traditional startup kind of person.
Mm,
I fell into startup through education, working in the ed tech sector first.
okay.
I started with a learning management company, and I'll tell you, like, for me, the culture of startup is just, it's me, like, all the way. Like, I belong there. I don't ever want to go back.
Mm,
And it's just it gives you a feeling of this is how work is supposed to feel. Like you're supposed to really love your job, you're supposed to love the people you work with, it's
mm,
supposed to be fun.
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, like the first company I worked for, I don't even like to even call them a startup because they're huge, but like it was so eye-opening that I was literally like, oh my gosh, me, this Black girl that like graduated from an online school is here with these people,
Mm,
like going to Disney World. Like what? Like
wow.
it blew my mind. It blew my mind. The exposure that I got was life changing. The way that I saw myself from that point on was life changing.
Mm,
And the courage that I got from being around people that were smarter than me. They were
mm,
smarter than me, and they were
mm,
doing things. I remember outside of you and probably like two other people, I didn't know anybody that was like really passionate about things that they were doing outside of work, right? Like
mm.
I didn't know,
Girl,
you know.
yes.
And one of them, look, one of them was my wedding planner, right? She had her own business. You
Mm,
had your own business. And I think one other person had their own business. And I was like, I was always entrepreneurial in thought, but I was scared to jump out there. But I was
mm,
like, gosh, like it's so dope that they care about something outside of work. Like these are single women like pursuing their passions. And I
mm,
remember that so much about you particularly. Like I thought that was so cool. And I was scared to do it. And then as I started working in startup, um, from the learning management company, I got the courage to apply for a real startup.
Mm.
like, like I was like employee number 5, and they were in an
Wow.
incubator. Yeah, they were in the Fishbowl Labs AOL incubator.
Mm.
And it sounds so silly now, right? Because AOL is gone, but like I will never remember every time I get somewhere that I didn't think I belonged. It's really humbling for me. And being at the AOL campus, my first day of work, it was mind blowing because it's huge, number one.
Mm.
Um, and even though it was AOL after their heyday, it was still really awesome. They showed Star Wars at work with beer and drinks and food. There was a nap room. There was yoga on Fridays. There was meditation. I mean,
Wow.
it's a different experience, and you start to see yourself differently. You have different conversations. You have
Mm.
conversations with CEOs. Like I met the guys from MapQuest,
Wow.
like in the cafeteria, you know. Um,
Mm.
and that was awesome for me. Um, and I used to be able to bounce ideas off of somebody that was like very closely affiliated with Google, and he would say, "That's good. You should do a launch rock page for that. Like you should get the social traction," and that changed my life.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and I started taking risks, and at that age, I was 34.
Mm.
And I was scared because I was like, gosh, this is like really volatile. Like being in incubators, you really get to see like the like part of startup that people write about in books.
Mm.
Like you really see it. And it's crazy, but it's real, you know? And it's like people are birthing these things, and they're having to make these really tough decisions about their livelihood and about other people's livelihood. And, it takes a lot of courage to step out there to do that, to
Yeah.
have the courage to be like, yes, I'm going to employ people. It's a big deal.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you one, it sounds like an amazing experience to have had, especially now to be in the founder seat, like to have that skill set, that knowledge base, that experience and exposure. It's like I feel like that alone like cuts the journey down of like at least a quarter way, maybe in half. I don't know, but
Okay, so I'm not going to lie. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I just had my I'm in an incubator, and I had my first advisor meeting this week. And the
mm,
week before, I had a meeting with the dev team. And it was really premature, and like it's humbling. Like learning these
mm,
hard things is humbling because you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make an app, and like this
mm,
is gonna be my budget, and I got $2,500 to get my MVP done, and like literally, like you kind of get laughed out the room. Like people are nice
mm,
and they're kind, but like they're like, listen, this is probably gonna cost you like $70,000 to build out, and you're
wow,
just like, oh, okay.
wow,
It's super humbling. And, like I thought that I was further in the process than I was. And my advisor was straight up like, listen, you need to do more research. And, like I was just getting ready. Actually, by today, I was going to have my page launched, right? And he
mm,
told me no on Tuesday. And I was like, word, okay. It hurt. And I had to go back and have different conversations like with my UX guy and be like, we just gotta hold it for now. And um it's it is it's hard in a different way, right? So like
mm,
when you're in early stage startup as an employee, you see how the sausage is made to a certain extent. But like the way you want
mm,
to think about it is like for one department, like you have ownership over one piece of the business, right? Like you're not trying to think of branding, marketing, HR, getting
mm,
your business of your business and accounting and building your tech stack. Like, you're not thinking about all of those things at the same time. You're looking for one tool that impacts your department for your workflow that you're going to implement in the company, not 20, you know?
Right. Yeah, that is, it's such a good point, and it also speaks to just another level of doing business and walking out entrepreneurship, being a business owner, you know, whatever of these categories you fall in. And even I'm going to say, even as a creative, for people who themselves as influencers possibly, or as artists, you know, there is a standard that you should not be intimidated by. There's a standard that you should not let be a barrier in terms of you not persisting forward and starting. But just know there is a standard. And like, you know, like a lot of times, you know, that just reminds me in terms of this program, like Creatives on Campus and this teaching and learning exchange is like being willing in one instance to contribute, right? But being willing in another instance to just kind of sit there and take it on the chin and get this good feedback that's going to help you to continue to grow your business and to do it in a way that people are going to be receptive and it's going to be successful. So I'm just glad that you know, not only brought that up and were able to respond in that way for yourself, but just is a great point for yeah.
I mean, you know, the thing about it is, I don't consider myself successful. I consider myself really privileged to have gotten in the rooms and in the networks that I am in. And I will say, in terms of those experiences, that's why I'm here. You're absolutely right, because like I know VCs, like some of them know my name. Like, it's weird. People call me back. Like, that's weird. And it's really interesting because I never saw myself that way. And it's like this shift that has to happen when you have an idea. Like, I definitely consider myself a professional ideator, and there are things that I am constantly learning about the process of ideation and innovation and design thinking that are critical. But they're not just critical for this process of like trying to create something and build something. They're critical for life. And I am 38 and like I'm in an incubator and I have advisors and I work with other founders. And like, these are things that we have all learned collectively the hard way. And we learn something new every single day. And like, I think the main thing is like with the question about the decisions that I've made about my career. The decisions that I've made about my career, I definitely didn't think about myself the way that I think about myself now as a founder, and as a founder that has lived in Baltimore. I don't live in Baltimore now, but the incubator that I'm in is in Baltimore. It's in a hub zone. It's in a hub zone for a reason. Like, I chose this incubator for a reason. And, you know, with everything that has been going on in the news, with Black Lives Matter, and me personally, myself, my uncle died in Las Vegas in police custody, and he was a schizophrenic. And I see myself and the way that I want to impact society much differently now. And especially in 2020, it's a whole nother ball game. I'm not even the same person anymore. And now I care about job creation. I care about wealth creation for our community, but particularly in Baltimore. And even though, like, me myself, like, I am so broke, but I feel like I'm going to get somewhere. And I feel
Yeah.
like if I grind this out and if I really stick to it and just like show up for myself right here, right now,
Yeah.
that eventually I'm going to be able to show up for the community. And eventually I'm going to be able to go to the HBCUs in Baltimore and say, listen, I want to partner with you. I want to have a tech incubator that is affiliated with your institution. And these are the resources that we offer. We are affiliated with this incubator, but like we want to have a Baltimore HBCU incubator that
Mm.
creates this system that is churning out underserved, underrepresented founders right here in Baltimore. And that is like what I care about. I care about impacting the Black community in a very specific way. So I was a huge fan of Andrew Yang from Y Combinator. He was a presidential candidate. He's a big believer in universal income. And I feel as though if you are a Black creator, if you are a Black innovator, if you are someone that is Black that is looking to work in tech, you need to start thinking about your skill set, your mindset, and how you feel and approach money. It's something that I'm learning the hard way. Like, and listen, I started this process a few months ago because I attended a webinar at General Assembly. Oh, and your education, your knowledge. It doesn't have to be formal education, but
Right.
just know, you know, in technology, you have to be seeking out new skills, new knowledge. You have to be thinking about pivoting all the time.
Mm.
And you have to know the right people to watch to help you gain the knowledge that you need to impact your median household income. Like, that's what I'm working for, to impact the median Black household income. Because by
Wow.
2053, I believe it's going to be zero if we don't interact with tech right now.
Mm.
And, you know, right, right. Like, that's a huge number. Look up Andrew Yang, and really just start to familiarize yourself. One of the things that I do, I really try to look at the skills that are valuable and viable, right? Things that I'm interested in, but also the things that are supposed to lead to like more solid careers. And like, mind you, like I'm not a solid career person. I take a lot of risk. I bounce around a lot. I get fired. I get laid off. You know, like it happens. But you have to get some kind of technological skill. Whether you're a creative, whether you are a humanities major, it does not matter. You need technology to really move forward and help with it now. Because we went from a manufacturing society to a service provider society. And that is a very different kind of economic structure. And now the rate is here. And that's something that I encourage young people to think about and to think about it, whether you're in Silicon Valley, whether you're in Austin, New York, Boston, DC, any of the technopoles, you can be a humanities major, but you still have to have tech skills. And tech companies are looking for people that are humanities majors because they think differently, you
Yeah.
know? And they need that.
Yeah. It. Wow. You said a lot of great stuff, and the one thing that really jumps out is around one, just the way that we know things are changing, right? Technology, and it brings me back to the thought of creativity. And I want to ask you, uh, you know, what do you see higher ed needing to do differently in order to really compete in an age and in a time where YouTube is its own university, right? Where people can jump into an incubator or an accelerator program, or people can log right into their own Facebook or to their Instagram feed, and they're following influencers and educators and people who are dropping knowledge every day on everything, on anything.
Yeah.
So what do you think that higher ed and just the education community is going to how even should they be thinking about things differently?
So this is so funny and like interesting because like me and my father was talking about this today.
Mm,
So you know, my father is a program director at a global university that's online, and he has noticed within the competitive landscape that the traditional ivory tower is trying to catch up to where they are, right? And um, in academia, there's this persnickety attitude, that students are not going to get a quality experience if they go to school online, right?
mhm,
I used to talk to business faculty all around the nation all the time, and their main concern was they didn't want to change their age-old syllabus, and the students were not engaging with the content, right? And that is a direct correlation to technology. And I worked for a
mm,
company that was really based in experiential learning. And if universities don't understand the types of shifts that need to happen in technology, when I say that, I don't just mean offering an online program, right? I don't just mean going to Blackboard and saying we got to put all our stuff online. I mean, really digging into course content creation, really talking to students, engaging with faculty,
mm.
training them properly, right? In the learning management system, you would be so shocked about how many faculty members that I have spoken to personally that do not want to learn the technology that they're supposed to be using for online classes. It's crazy. And so when you talk about disservice to students, there's this whole other level that comes from faculty just because of their technology anxiety, right? And that's the main thing. It really is bridging the gap between faculty and those tenured professors, which are very hard to find now, right? Because the structure of education has changed where all of the faculty members are adjuncts now. But getting those faculty members that have been teaching for eons to really embrace technology and use it and make it their own to provide valuable course content in a meaningful way for a meaningful experience for students to engage them. Because without technology, Gen Z, there we have to do this for
We have to.
students coming into college now. That's the only thing they understand. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, they came out the womb with a tablet.
Okay, like FaceTime. Okay, like when? Okay, yeah,
Wow.
totally.
It's so true. It's so true. And I know in the industry that I one of my predominant client industries, I've heard it discussed and it, there's like these pain points of feeling like it's an attack on a generation and it's just like we have to be able to figure out a way to bridge the gap because like you're saying it's important and it's not an attack on a generation. It's about effectiveness, impact, like we talked about earlier. Like we know we're impacting students, so are we impacting them for the better, or are we impacting them to the point where they're going to be that runaway college student who leaves college without a degree and a bunch of debt because they just weren't connected? And I oftentimes talk about that, this phrasing that college just isn't for me. And I don't believe that. I mean, I believe that it is the reality, right? But I believe that it's like, why isn't college for you? Like, it's because it's not offered in a way that is engaging to you or that motivates you or that makes you feel confident and like you are prepared to be successful, or you know what I mean? Like there's a number of reasons and scenarios, and it's just really important for anyone who's in the industry and has made it their work that we do that work.
I agree. I agree. And it's funny because I'm not an education. something that I still feel very passionately about. I mean, and I can always see myself going back to education because it felt like a blanket for me, especially when I got to that ed tech space. Like,
Mm,
that's my cozy spot, right? Whether I'm dealing with faculty or students, I love those types of engagements because they're challenging and bridging the technology and the education um, is something that I find really exciting when you start to see students engaging with content because it's exciting. You see
hmm.
students get their aha moment, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, Candice, it became a little bit harder to hear you. Or is it? I hear the rain though.
It's thorough.
Okay, it's okay. We're having the same thing here, so it's okay. We'll work through it. We're almost wrapping up, but I do want to really quickly ask you about, and this is another question that was brought in by one of our students. I want to ask you about Unhitched. So you are a founder, regardless of the
Yeah.
feedback and the process and where you are in it. You are, in fact, a founder. And tell us, to whatever extent you would like about Unhitched and just, what the inspiration is behind that.
Yeah. So Unhitched.io is an app that I'm building that is basically a concierge for divorce, for the divorce process. I kind of conceived this idea when I was going through my own divorce and just how difficult it was. I really felt like there has to be a brighter side to divorce, right? Like there has to be. Like there's no way that people really like do this like this, right?
Hmm.
Like, and being the person that I am, like, I felt like, wow, like, if I'm turning into a monster going through this process, like, I can't imagine people that are really monsters going through this process.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, I smile a lot, I laugh a lot, but like going through that process, I was miserable. I was angry, I was hurt. Um, I didn't know what laws to look for because I worked in one state, I lived in another, and my physical residence where my mortgage was in another state. So it was very, um, it was confusing, and I was trying to do things on my own. And I felt like, okay, number one, I need a lawyer, but number two, I never want anyone to feel like this ever again,
mm,
if I can
wow,
help it.
wow, that's impactful, and I love it because it's true to your own story and journey. Um, and I think that's what makes the best, not just stories, but the best brands, right? The best businesses, the best founders are the ones who are committed to seeing what they've started through because there's a personal, there's something personal
Attachment.
there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, most founders I know are like that.
Hmm. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I feel like there's so many other conversations and things that could emerge just based on your experience and just what you're up to now. So we might have to come back and do a part two at another time.
I'm
Uh,
here for it. I'm here for it. I love this.
but yes, I mean, but in the meantime, I do want to see, is there any, do you have a social media handle? Do you want people following you? Because that's a thing
Yeah.
too. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Which is like that's such a I thank you for that question. I just jumped out there and started learning the internet's social
you
media.
have to kill it. I love when I see you go live. I mean, I just like I said, you're like a comedian without even trying.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it because I just really need outlets. Like
And it's
COVID got me going
inspirational.
crazy. Oh, thank you so
It's
much.
like comedic inspiration, like the best of both
Thanks.
worlds. So
Thank you so much because I just really am just trying not to be Carol Baskin. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty much all I'm trying to do. But yeah, like Facebook is like really relaxed. And I'm just kind of like irreverent in my social media because we don't, this is not the normal world. So you can follow me at Camrock in the City. I write a little bit of haiku there. Um,
Nice.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited about that. My new little thing. I talk about my weight loss journey. I try to provide some inspirational things when I have a really shitty day and I just need to be like, it's not always going to be like this. Let me like speak it out into existence. So yeah, Camrock in the City on Insta.
Nice. Nice. Well, I'm already following you, but for anyone who appreciates, just like I said, a dose of comedy while still some inspiration, you really should, if she lets you, follow her on Facebook. But no,
My
thank
favorite platform.
you. But genuinely, thank you so much. This conversation, like these conversations for me always leave me like with my wheels turning. I'm like, oh, I wonder, and like just new connections of thoughts and opportunities and partnerships. So don't be surprised if I'm in your email box or on your text message hitting
Oh,
you up.
please do it. I have been turning into like resource queen, honey. I'm trying to get
You
all these
have.
resources to these Black queens out here and these Black creators out
Yes.
here. Okay,
Thank
we gotta
you.
get
And we
this money, y'all.
appreciate it. Let's get
Yeah,
this money.
you know, I ain't got none, but hopefully one day I'll be like the back. So I will continue to do that. You know,
Thank you
definitely.
so much. Thank you
I'm
so
so
much.
glad to support. Yeah, thank you, thank you. This is my first podcast, and I'm so
Woo!
good.
Nice. Well, thank you, Candice. And again, we appreciate you. Keep doing excellent work. I'm excited to hear the progress and the updates of your app. But just for starting, congratulations, because that's a thing, right? So thank you so much. And again, we'll have to do this again because I have more questions, but we'll do it again. All right. So let me tell you how Candice literally is just one of those people um, that I met at a really good time. It's 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 a thing to walk around like happy, smiling, joking, being the clown at work, but secretly and silently be going through some serious stuff and be really just bent out. And that is kind of the space I was in when I met Candice and living in another state away from my family, which brought about its own emotional challenges. And it was just, again, to now be connected back with her after, I don't even know, maybe 8 years, 7, 8, maybe, of working together and not seeing each other probably over the last 5 or 6 years. And so again, Candice is one of those people that I will be grateful to for just because of I know the divine way in which she came into my life at a time that I just needed a good friend. So, didn't want to end mushy with y'all tonight, but that's where I'm at with it. That's just where I'm at with it. So I'm so grateful that we had that conversation, and I really do look forward to having Candice back to continue to just hear her progress and to hear how she continues to evolve in her journey as a founder and as an entrepreneur. I have no doubt that she is destined for success. And before we end the night, in the podcast, I do want to just share that we are still recruiting our everyday mergers. So I announced 2 weeks ago that we launched our first product, our first what's called an everyday merger kit. I'll tell you that back in 2019 in the fall, we launched a pilot program called Emergency, where we kind of just did like a test launch with a group, a cohort of 12 people. And it was a 12-week program, and we learned a lot. And it is just really exciting to have had the last, 6 months plus to improve and really get some feedback and update this program so that it can be everything that it's intended to be and more. And so I am so excited about just letting you know, if you are an entrepreneur, if you identify as a creative, if you are an artist, if you're an educator, if you're just a student and you don't even know what's next beyond that. If you have dropped out, if you never went to college, honestly, it doesn't matter. The point is that we are looking for individuals who are open to bold yet humble pursuit. That's it. That's the standard. That's the standard. Being open to bold but humble pursuit. If that's you, we would love, love, love to have you as a part of our first official, right? And I'll say our second, because like I said, we did do a launch of this, but our official cohort of everyday mergers. And as a part of this process, it's a 12-week program. The first 30 days is really dedicated to helping you build the confidence. We call it taking permission to roar, right? Taking that permission to roar and to be the founder and the creative that you are. We create the space and provide the opportunities to make that possible. We support you with the development of your brand, from your establishing your mission, understanding your values, being centered by those values, and even the creation of your logos and all of the assets that go along with just building out that initial concept. We then move into a very fast-paced process of promoting you right here on the Happily Better After page, on all of our social media channels. And this is what we call honoring our own. We honor our own. And so after you've taken permission to roar, that's your job. We honor you. That's our job. And then the final 30 days is really geared to helping to reposition you so that you can be self-sufficient. If you choose to be, you're more than welcome to stick around in the Creatives on Campus Collective. You're more than welcome to continue to utilize the Happily Better After platform for a fee. But the goal is that you feel confident to be self-sufficient if that's what you choose to do, because everybody, in my opinion, needs to take the wings that they've been given and go ahead and fly. And so we're here to help you get that start. If you're interested, please shoot us an email, creatives@happilybetter.com. We would love to start the conversation and begin to support you in this way. You can also text us. We have an app, a community app, where we send out inspirational, educational, and just various content from different members of our network that I think is absolutely amazing. Like right in the right moment, I somehow get a ding, and it's just what I needed to hear. And so if you want to engage beyond social media and really become a part of our community in terms of even texting and engaging, we promise not to, we don't do group text, so you're not getting added to a thread. This is an individual text that you would get. And if you want to be a part of that, the phone number is 856-481-7785. Again, 856-481-7785. We would love to just exchange and to interact with you beyond social media and find out what you're up to, what you're interested in. So, as I always say when I close, it is, forget what you heard. It is a different world with creatives on campus. Know us, love us, hire us, book us. Okay? Book us. And you can start right here at Creatives on Campus. I love y'all. Be safe. It is something going on outside. That's a little crazy tonight, but be safe. And as always, we'll see you again next Friday right here at 6 p.m. for more. Thank you so much and have a great evening.